Shiver-by-the-Sea is a new series of illustrated chapter books for kids 7 and up. It features the adventures of a girl named Bella Gossi, and it pays tribute to the classic monster movies from the 1950s and 60s in a kid-friendly way, while also building a sense of community. If your kid enjoys silly, spooky stories, this could be a nice addition to your child's library. Welcome to the Kids Bookshelf. I'm Dan Skinner. Ahead, we'll explore the first 2 books in the series and talk with the author about the inspiration behind them. I requested and was provided with a copy of the books we'll discuss, but this video is not sponsored. Erin Dionne is the author of the award-winning Moxie and the Art of Rule Breaking, as well as several picture books and middle grade and tween novels. She joins us to talk about her new Shiver-by-the-Sea chapter book series. The first 2 books in this series are Bella and the Vampire and the Were-Woof. Erin, welcome to the program.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me, Dan.
Well, before we talk about the first 2 books in this series, tell us about the inspiration for the series.
Sure. This was so fun to write. I've always been a lover of horror movies and scary books. I've been reading Stephen King since I was far too young to be. But up until this point, everything I've written has been realistic and funny and based in contemporary reality. I've never tried anything super scary. I've never tried anything magical, mostly because I was afraid I couldn't do it. And with Shiver by the Sea, I work at an art school up in Beverly, Massachusetts, which is the town next to Salem. And Salem, as we know, is pretty popular around, October. And Beverly also has sort of its own seaside weird history. And I love, as I said, I love scary books, but I love scary movies. And Beverly has an old movie theater. And so one day I sort of got the idea of, what if I try setting a story in sort of a spooky town? I used Beverly and Salem as a basis to create Shiver by the Sea. And I thought this would be the way for me to sort of step into this area that I've always enjoyed, consuming as a reader and a viewer, and try it as a writer.
For what age would you recommend these books?
Age 7 and up. It's illustrated chapter book with a lot of humor.
I appreciate a good pun, and the first thing I noticed is that the name of your main character in these stories is Bella Gossi.
Her middle name is Lou.
Well, all right then.
So there are lots of nods to the Universal Pictures monster movies of the 50s and 60s through the whole series. That was sort of one of the underpinnings. And so I'm hoping that older readers of the books will sort of get in on the joke and enjoy those little nods here and there.
Children and adults may be reading these books together, especially for the children at the younger age range for this book. So when you were writing these books, did you keep both of those audiences in mind?
Absolutely. I always think of the widest possible audience, even though my target audience are kids. And so I figured that this would be a fun way for any adult interacting with the book to get a laugh, and also a way for a conversation to happen between kids and adults about some of these things. Because there's also Bella and her mom run the local movie theater. And so there's always a Universal monster movie playing in one of the theaters during the book.
So it's spooky, but not too scary, because there's a lot of humor in here, and I assume you had to try to find that balance because you didn't want to scare the kids too much.
Exactly. I call it sweet spooky. There's a lot of humor. I'm always trying to be age appropriate. So the vampires in the book don't drink blood. They drink sticky sweet syrup. So it's a way to sort of introduce kids to maybe some of these monsters in a way that's safe and fun and a little bit more exciting than scary.
So you're tapping into that sweet, spooky audience, but What else about this series do you think will appeal to young readers?
I think there's a lot in Shiver-by-the-Sea that could be fun for kids. There's a lot about community building. Shiver-by-the-Sea is a town that has some magic, but the magic's a little rusty. A lot of the shops on Main Street have closed. And as the magic comes back into the town with more and more people engaging with it, Bella and her mom opening a new business sort of reawakens some of the magic. The town community starts to change. And so I think kids can sort of access it through seeing, oh, I can make changes in the world around me. There's a lot about friendship because Bella's new to town. So I think that's something that's super relatable for kids trying to make your way in the world. And, when you put it against a backdrop of monsters and magic, it just is a different access point, and pulls kids in a different way.
Well, let's talk about the first book in the new series. It's Bella and the Vampire. Tell us about the story here.
Yeah, so this is Bella's introduction to Shiver-by-the-Sea. We're along with her. She and her mom are moving in after a divorce. They're moving in with Bella's uncle, and her mom is going to reopen the town movie theater. So Bella is new to the community, and as she's helping her mom clean out the movie theater, she gets this trunk with all of the movie reels in it and opens the trunk, and there's a bat in the trunk. And it's not just any bat, it is a vampire bat. And along the way, she meets a friend named Cooper and his dog Casper, and our little bat turns into a little friend. He is a vampire, and he's lost. And so Bella and Cooper have to help him find his way home. And so there's a lot there about being new, being uncomfortable in a new place, wanting to leave. Bella can really relate to her bat friend, whose name is Bram, on a lot of levels.
And so there's a lot of nods here to Bram Stoker and Casper the Ghost, etc. And some of the references the younger kids might not immediately get, but the parents certainly will get the humor.
Absolutely.
The second book is also a nod to a classic monster, but in this case you switch it up a bit. And instead of being about a werewolf, it's about a were-woof.
Yes. So in that one, Bella ends up fostering a puppy who is tiny and a little strange. And at night, this puppy that sleeps all day gets wild and a little bit out of control. And all of a sudden we notice maybe she's getting a little bigger and changing. So she is a werewolf as opposed to a scary werewolf. And that book is really about, how do you meet people where they're at? There is the woman who owns the shelter wants to try to tame the puppy or change the puppy. And Bella sort of realizes that you can actually kind of channel their energy a little bit. And she gets some help from somebody who's new in town and opening a pet boutique. So in each book, there's a new store that opens or a new aspect of the community that's introduced, as well as a new monster.
This is a chapter book, and it does contain some illustrations. So tell us about the illustrator and the work her art does to help tell the story.
Yeah, Jen Harney did an amazing job with these illustrations. She really brought these characters to life. There's about 80 we call spot illustrations throughout the book. And she has this sort of slightly retro feel, so which kind of was in line with those old school monster movies from the 50s. But she really brings a lot of movement and expression to the characters. And there's a picture in one of in Bella and the Vampire where Casper the dog is sort of racing through the mall and everybody's chasing along behind him, that I just think it's fabulous. It looks like it jumps right off the page at you. And the books wouldn't be what they are without her illustrations, for sure.
You've written for younger audiences and older audiences than this chapter book series. What do you enjoy about writing for this specific age group?
This group, I think, is so important for, and exciting for me. These are really the readers who are becoming more confident, more fluent in their reading ability. This is where, chapter books are kind of a big deal, where you've started to bridge that gap on reading on your own. And so to have the privilege of writing for that audience, and holding their attention and introducing them to some of these ideas, I feel really fortunate to be able to write for them. And it's so fun. Like, there's such an enthusiasm for reading at that level. And it's just a delight to be able to contribute to that.
Well, and as you noted, this is an age where kids are really starting to develop their reading skills. So what advice do you have for parents about helping their children learn to read and to foster a love for reading?
Yeah, I think this is a really critical age for kids when it comes to literacy. And I think choice is really important. A lot of times parents sort of feel like they have to steer their kid in a particular direction. Oh, you shouldn't read graphic novels, or I want you to read books that have, no pictures. And really the thing that's most important for those 7 to 9-year-olds is that they feel confident in what they're reading. So whether they need, whether they're reading graphic novels because the pictures help them with context, or whether they want stuff that's illustrated and easier, that helps them develop the confidence that they need to ladder up, into different aspects of literacy. So I think choice and encouragement is really important. I think reading with your child is really important. Sharing a book together, it gives you so much to talk about and gives you that time with your child. And I also think that, exploring different types of reading, listening to audiobooks is important. And that, because sometimes that's a different access point for a kid. And all of those things together kind of lead you down the path of becoming a reader.
We've been talking about the first 2 books in the Shiver-by-the-Sea series, Bella and the Vampire and the Were-Woof. I understand the 3rd book is already underway.
Yes. Book 3 is The Creature from the Green Gloppy Pool, and that will be out in May of 2024. So I'm really excited about that and starting to see some of Jen's sketches for that book.
So, another homage to a classic movie, The Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Exactly.
I like it. The Shiver-by-the-Sea series is written by Erin Dionne and illustrated by Jennifer Harney. Erin, thank you for talking with me today.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
If you'd like to purchase the books in the Shiver-by-the-Sea series, I've placed links for you in the description below. Thank you for watching this edition of the Kids Bookshelf. And if you'd like to see more videos about children's books and their authors, be sure to like, subscribe, and click on the bell to be notified about future programs. I'm Dan Scunner. Until next time, keep sharing the gift of reading.